What's up, you guys? Welcome to Transformation. My name is Glaude, and I lost over 160 pounds, going from obese to beast. Now, I'm on a quest to share your stories and inspire others to transform their lives. Today, we're meeting Brittany, who for years struggled with eating disorders. In the same year she was in the hospital for anorexia, she later attended fat camp. Today, she's finally found balance and is dedicated to helping as many people struggling with weight issues as she can. Welcome to Transformation. Brittany, thank you so much for being on the show. We are incredibly excited to hear about your amazing story.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, how did your childhood play a role in your eating disorders?
Early on, when I started going to school, I was teased by my peers, and I started thinking there was something wrong with me. And I thought I, do not fit in. As I got a little bit older in elementary school, I started struggling with depression. I started struggling with anxiety. I started struggling with OCD. And I didn't understand why everyone else seemed to be living these really happy and kind of normal lives, and I just hated myself. But I never told anyone that I was struggling. I needed to be perfect. I wanted so badly for my peers to accept me, and I wanted so badly to fit in that, I needed a way to cope. I needed a way to deal with all these feelings. But before I knew it, I was starting to count calories, and I was starting to over-exercise. And it took my focus away from the pain that I felt from my peers teasing me. And I kind of told myself, well, okay, maybe if you change yourself, maybe people will like you. And unfortunately, nothing changed.
What's going through your head, when you start to realize that you're counting your calories and really cutting them?
I felt so out of control in my life, and I couldn't control people teasing me or bullying me, and I felt that was the only thing I could control in my life. And then even going to the gym, I would come up with these weird games. If I exercised for an hour, then the next day I would have to exercise for an hour and 5 minutes, and then it just kept increasing and increasing and increasing. I could see that I was destroying myself. The worst part of it all was that I believed I deserved it.
It seems like it wasn't really even about the food or about the exercise. It was about the control that you had.
It never had anything to do with my weight. It never had anything to do with my body. It just absolutely had to do with my mind. So instead of actually asking for help, I just turned it all inward on myself, and I blamed myself, and I silently screamed by taking it out on myself.
So how did your family react when they noticed that you were losing weight and they realized that you have this eating disorder? How did they react?
They noticed really quickly that something was wrong, and they sent me to my first eating disorder treatment center, and that for me was kind of a blessing and a curse. It was great because all of a sudden I had friends for the first time, and I realized I wasn't alone. But it was also not such a great thing for me because I kind of was exposed to this whole world of eating disorders, and my family was just torn apart, and just always afraid they were going to lose me. I'll never forget just listening to them cry. So it was a terrible time for our family, and I know they blamed themselves too, and I think that was also a really hard thing for me, is that they thought it was their fault.
So what happened when you went to college?
I got accepted to UC Davis and kind of sat down with my parents, and we kind of decided that, maybe going to a new town and a new school, maybe that'll really help you turn things around. And I knew in my heart, I
Yeah.
I knew that wasn't going to be the case. I had a dorm room all by myself.
Oh, wow.
And I was so afraid that I would die in my sleep, that I wouldn't go to bed until the sun would rise. And so I would stay awake all throughout the night. And I was also so addicted to exercise that I would put on my headphones and I would pace around the dorm room hallways while everyone was sleeping just to exercise more. All I could think about was, I'm fat. But that was just a really, easy thing to focus on because I didn't want to focus on what really hurt me. And so that was just a really great Band-Aid. My eating disorder was just, the mask that worked.
At what point did you end up becoming hospitalized because of the disorder?
About 2 weeks into winter quarter, I got a call from the university and they said, basically, you have to leave. They said, you can come back, but, in order for you to come back, these are basically the health requirements that you need to meet. Anyways, I left because I had to, and I did go to a hospital. While I was there, they told my parents to plan my funeral. They didn't expect me to live at all. I had to relearn how to walk. I basically lost all my hair. But, at the same time, it still wasn't real to me. I was still trying to hide food. I was still trying to, think of ways to lose weight. But it never occurred to me that I was going to die.
How much did you weigh at your lowest weight?
So I got down to 56 pounds.
If you know you're 56 pounds and that you're struggling to walk,
right?
What's going on in your head then?
You don't see it that way. I mean, I think that's what unfortunately is so misunderstood still with eating disorders. And it was never about, once I get to a certain weight, once I'm skinny enough, I've achieved something, I'll be happy. And it just was never about that. It was about needing to keep the behaviors going. And unfortunately, the behaviors, they led to weight being a side effect.
But then you end up developing a binge eating disorder as well. So how did that happen?
Yeah. So I have a younger sister, and she's always been normal and happy, and she's one of my biggest role models in my life. And so she had a bunch of friends over, and they were having a sleepover, and they were having a great time and enjoying food. And of course, I was eating like sugar-free Jell-O and
celery.
Just all by myself, and while they were having a great time. And I don't know what happened, but something just kind of came over me, and I just remember that I started eating all these foods that I had forbidden myself to eat in over 7 years. And I remember it was such a big deal. I mean, it was probably like 1 a.m. or it was, really late at night. And I remember waking up my parents, and I was like, oh my God, you need to come see this.
That's awesome.
I mean, it felt awesome at the time. It was really, a huge moment for me. I didn't really realize where it was leading. And before I knew it, I was binging every single day.
Wow.
And I was gaining almost 30 pounds a month.
Wow.
And, I did need to gain weight, but I got to a healthy weight through binging. But I started to become overweight.
I've dealt with binging, maybe to a lesser extent than you or other people that have dealt with it even more, but I know how it feels. I would really, really, really restrict myself a lot, binge really crazy hard, and then while I'm binging, I'm telling myself, okay, once I finish this, I'll be done. But that never happened.
And then I had kind of the name of the eating disorder girl, or the anorexic. But then, with the binging, it was like, oh my gosh, who am I? I felt like I was losing my identity. So, I went from 56 pounds to 221 pounds. I'm looking in the mirror and I'm just thinking, the heck happened?
Yeah. What is your family saying to you? How do they react to that?
They, to be honest, like at first they were really relieved.
Yeah.
Like if anything, and I don't blame them, if anything, they were really encouraging about me binging.
And they probably didn't realize that you were developing another disorder.
My health was no better and my mind was no better. And, I thought I was just as ugly at 56 pounds as I did at 221 pounds. And it really just had nothing to do with my weight.
So how did you end up finding that balance?
It really took me realizing that, it's up here. And so I finally started working on my mind. Once I did that, everything else did start getting better, and it's just really kind of building upon those successes. And, I always used to keep everything a secret. And now, I published a book about,
awesome.
The one thing that I did, where my OCD did come in handy, was that I journaled obsessively throughout my whole struggle. And so I must have hundreds and hundreds of journals. And it's been really amazing just hearing people who have read it and who have written to me and have just said, Brittany, thank you for your story. I thought I was the only one, and I thought I was alone. And
how amazing is it that when, like, these points when you're at your darkest, your lowest lows, that you're able to be a light to these people that are struggling with the same thing that you were struggling with?
It's amazing for me to feel that I can now give back to them, but then at the same time, they give back to me. Every time I read what they write to me,
Absolutely.
I feel we're on this journey together. And, I'm not perfect and I still have hard days, but, I'm going to continue to grow, and you can do the same thing.
So if you could give one tip or a couple tips to somebody that's dealing with an eating disorder or whatever it is, what would that be?
If there's something that's going on in your mind or in your head that, you're struggling with, that asking for help is really a sign of strength. And that we should all really strive to, live our best lives. And I lived so much of my life struggling in silence, and I didn't need to do that. And it almost killed me. And so I really want to, hopefully, by using myself as an example, help others, have the courage to go, better themselves by learning from me. If you can really, work on your mind, that's really the key to transforming your life in a positive way.
Awesome. Well, that's a great answer. I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show. We
Thank
really,
you.
really appreciate it, and I can't wait to share your story with so many people.
Thank you so much, Sean.
My main takeaway from Brittany's story is that it takes a lot of guts to admit that you have a problem. But once you do, you can find an amazing support system that'll help you through all your struggles. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode of Transformation. If you can relate to Brittany's story at all, please let us know in the comment section. If you're not subscribed to this channel already, make sure you do that for more videos like this every single Tuesday. I'll see you guys next week.